has not been done properly. Of course, from their own standpoint and their own understanding of what the process should be. So it's within their rights, and one would expect that those questions that they raised would be attended. So I think the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakuba, said that he was going to be addressing most of those concerns. I think by midday today, that was going to be, talking most, extensively about those issues raised by the political parties who feel dissatisfied about the process so far. But in all of these things, I'll still say that, look, this is the time for some level of patriotism to come in. These are the first election that we hold in Nigeria, and this is not going to be the last. And so we have to be careful the precedents we lay at this time. There are rules to the game, there are rules to the procedure, there are rules to this process, and I think we should all follow the rules. The rules of pre-election conduct, the conduct of the elections itself, and post-election conduct. There are all constitutional rules and guidelines to it. And that's why elections doesn't just end with INEC conducting the elections. You also have the judiciary playing a role. And that's why we have the tribunals and the court playing a role after elections to take care of the satisfactions of political parties or players within the elections. So, like I said, I think this is the time to call for patriotism. I expect people to be patriotic in their actions, in what they say and what they do, and allow the process to endure. The pre-election and post-election process to endure properly, so that we can have a smooth transition. It can never be perfect. Look, even the best democracies in the world took centuries to get to where they are, and up till today, there are still questions about their processes and procedure. How much more we have a democratic experiment that's about 20-something years. I'm talking about this new democratic experiment that we have. So I think we should just be patriotic. We should all calm down, allow the process to endure, and then of course follow lay down rules for seeking redress.
All right, thank you very much, Fuad. We just needed to, address that very briefly, because of course this has been the talk. Should I say this has been a cause for concern, with a lot of people giving out their reaction, expressing their displeasure, some even comfortable with the next decision to move on. But then again, let's very briefly look through the papers. The Guardian, the Nation newspaper, Vanguard, and New Telegraph are the papers we have in front of us this morning. So we're starting with the Guardian newspaper. Major headline here: drama as observers Obasanjo Abdulsalami query elections. Now let's look at the riders. Save Nigeria from looming disaster, cancel elections that lack credibility, says Obasanjo. Melaye Ihedioha, 10 parties seek cancellation of result, storm out of collation center. Yakubu insists no overvoting in Ekiti, asks aggrieved party to seek redress in court. Election falls short of expectations, lacks transparency, US, EU observers. Tinubu warns against plots to procure order to stall process. So let's talk about this. I think to a large extent in your introduction, you already addressed former President Olusegun Obasanjo's position on this and his open letter. He says that to cancel an election that lacks credibility. Let's look at the story first before we start to talk about this, riders. 3 days after tension is rising in the land over the long wait for the outcome of the Saturday's presidential election, after failing to resolve the slowdown of electronic transmission of results into the result viewing portal, the Independent National Electoral Commission yesterday resumed collation of results. Let's talk about Obasanjo's open letter. You've spoken about it, but still let's shed more light on this, because a lot of people have come out with comments after former President Olusegun Obasanjo spoke. In fact, some started saying, you're not the person that should even be talking about credibility of polls in any way. It's far it be from you to talk about a process that is not, credible. Some are saying that your comments are inciting violence in the country. Maybe you should have chosen your words widely, because this might cause people to want to, use violence in their bid to contend INEC's inability to upload the results to the INEC viewing portal. So do you in any way, understand the perspective of those people who are, first things first, questioning the integrity of former President Olusegun Obasanjo in the first place? And also, do you in any way think that his comments, his advice to the president to intervene and cancel elections in some areas is something that we can consider as inciting?
Okay, I would take the analogy of the messenger and the messenger this morning, and I would like try to use the two scenarios. Let us say we want to take the message and the messenger. We want to analyze the messenger and the messenger first before I talk about taking the message and not the messenger. Now, the messenger in this context, that's the Olusegun Obasanjo, does not have the moral standing to talk about failed elections. I'm saying that because he conducted elections that was regarded as the worst ever history of the country. In fact, before the election was conducted, pre-election, he himself had the election do or die affair. He said he was a do or die affair for himself and his party. And in fact, he acted it out at the polls. It was a completely flawed election. It's the election he organized that brought in the late Yar'Adua. The extent that even when Yar'Adua was sworn in, on swearing day, Yar'Adua confessed that, look, this election that brought me in is the worst ever in the history of the country. So I would say that, look, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, with all due respect, does not have the standing to talk about failed elections in the country because he conducted an election that was completely failed, woeful. It was a do or die affair, completely rigged. Now on the message, I'm also sure that Chief Olusegun Obasanjo knows that, look, there are constitutional processes to these things. Yes, there are questions that INEC must answer. I agree completely that, look, the process was mad, whether by incompetence or deliberate incompetence or maybe oversight or lack of proper planning and logistics. There are questions that INEC must answer on why they could not actually stick to their promise of uploading the elections at the collation centers. I agree, or at the polling unit. Those are questions that INEC would have to answer. But the question is this: until the process is completed, some of these questions cannot be completely answered. And where should these questions come from? It has to be from the court. And that's why we said that, look, what the politicians and the political parties are supposed to be doing now is to compile what you call documentary evidence. The court can make pronouncements for elections to be cancelled and redone. We've seen it before, where the court will tell INEC to go ahead and cancel elections in places and redo those elections. But that the constitution needs to follow. It's only the court that can make such pronouncements. And I know Chief Olusegun Obasanjo knows very well that that is the procedure. We have to be careful to set this country on fire on the altar of hypocrisy. If Olusegun Obasanjo is an elder statesman, a past president, he has conducted elections before that ended up in the court. So he knows the process very well. I'm not saying that the process was perfect. I agree that there are questions about how this election was conducted. But we have to be careful the precedents we are laid. Okay, if we don't allow the courts to make pronouncements, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to go to the streets and then continue to cause chaos and havoc and burn down the country? Is that what they are preaching? When he conducted those elections, was that what INEC did? Did they cancel the election before it got to the court? I know these are issues that people have emotional attachments to. Oh, what's the reasonable with some of these things? There are questions about the election. And like I said, and that was what the chairman of INEC was saying, although he had promised that, look, some of these issues will be addressed today, a lot of those concerns, and he has to address them. But let me tell you, the reality is that for elections that have been conducted, compiled, results tallied, polling agents have signed, those results have been collated at state level and now at the national level, Mahmoud Yakub on his own cannot cancel those elections. It is impossible. And these guys calling for cancellation know too well that Mahmoud Yakub on his own cannot cancel those elections. That they have to do the right thing by allowing the constitutional means for seeking redress to endure, which is, if you have the satisfaction, begin to put your documentary evidences together. And look at what has been laid down. Say, we have 3 levels for courts to make pronouncements on the election: the tribunal, the appeal court, and the Supreme Court. So if there's a misplacement of justice at any of the levels, a second level can correct it, and a third level can also talk about it. That is what is done all over the world in penal crime and in proper democracy. And that's what we should also emulate in Nigeria.
Right. Fuad, it will seem like the European Union election observers, they have said that Saturday's election lacks transparency. They maintained that although the election was held as scheduled, it lacks transparency during the critical stages of electoral process. while on the election day, trust in INEC was further reduced due to delayed polling process and information gaps from the result viewing portal. Apparently, the European Union election observers are also on the side of those who think that the Saturday polls were not very credible. They say it's devoid of transparency. Is there going to be any implication whatsoever? Do you think this report from the EU might compound the issue?
Yes. Well, again, I listened to most of the observers, and even as a journalist who were out there on election day, there were questions about deployment materials. There were questions about the conduct of the elections. Pockets of violence were recorded in parts of Lagos and in different parts of the country, to the extent that the elections actually will get to the second day. You understand? So, of course, there were issues with transparency and all of that. And like I said, those are documentary evidences that will lead to a post-mortem of the elections eventually for us to analyze and see why we had those issues. I would have thought that, look, INEC had 4 years to properly plan for these elections. And I must say that what we saw on elections, even as journalists, was below par. I think we all have to agree with that, look, INEC could have done better. Yes, we agree that the could, conducted these elections better. But look, it cannot be 100%. Yes, we expect that, look, there should have been a better performance. But I'm still saying that, look, no matter the misgivings, no matter the disagreement and the disappointment we have about the conduct of the election, we must allow the process to be completed and allow constitutional means of seeking redress to endure. The observers have made their own comments. Some of the observers even think that, there are questions about the integrity of the process and all of that, but by and large, it was still largely fair and fair in a lot of places. Still results that have shocked us, whether we like it or not. For the first time APC lost the presidential election in Lagos State, a lot of governors have lost their election. There are states that have, sworn the way of the Labour Party, and some even small parties. Look at Kano, for example. Look at the results coming out of Kano, NSDP. You're going, way ahead of the ruling party, APC in Kano State. So, to a large extent, some of the results have shown that, look, the process could have been faulty, but you can't say it was not completely credible.
Right.
But again, I say that no matter what we think about the elections, let us allow the constitutional means of seeking redress endure. That's the right thing to do, and that's the proper thing to do.
Right. Let's look at the last rider on here, because the other ones have already been addressed in the middle of all your other analysis. Well, however, now I'm reading from the papers. However, APC has said it is upbeat on Tinubu's victory, and the spokesman of the party's PCC, Dele Alake, I'm sorry, at a press conference in Abuja, however, raised the alarm of subterranean plot by the opposition parties to procure an order of the court aimed at stalling the declaration of Tinubu as winner of the presidential polls. He reminded those behind such plot of the fate that befell Justice Basi Beme, who issued the order against the declaration of Chief MK Abiola as winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential polls. What do you think of this allegation that's put forward by the spokesperson of the part of APC PCC, Dele Alake, that and some people have already started to approach the court to prevent his principal from being announced as the winner, of which the results are still being announced? I don't know, but what do you think of his position on this, so we can move to another story?
You see, Sage, there are a lot of things that we cannot say on radio. Because of the ethics of the profession and the fact that we have to continue to preach peace, continue to maintain that, look, Nigerians must just be patriotic at all levels. Again, we have to also speak to the APC and their spokesperson to be careful the kinds of allegations they make at this time, the kinds of information they put out there, so that again they also don't stoke some level of violence and don't allow people begin to get agitated and all of that. Again, the June 12 analogy, of course, I understand that analogy very well, because, of course, I was not too young. I witnessed that elections. We knew what happened at that time. I think it's also the time for us to tell the courts to be careful what they'll be doing, their role, as far as this election is concerned. People are already saying that people are already approaching the court to seek interim injunctions for the results to be paused for now and all those kind of things and all of that. But I'm saying that, look, for everybody that has a role to play in this critical time in the life of Nigeria, they should take Nigeria first before any other interest. They should understand that whatever they do that will lead to people going up in arms against one another should be discouraged and should be avoided at all costs. We cannot burn down the country on the altar of politics. This election will not be the last that Nigeria would organize. Elections are going to come. The democratic process cannot be perfect overnight. It would have to endure, it will evolve, and will get better with it. And like I said, even the best democracies in the world took years to get perfect. But again, let us use all constitutional means to seek redress if we feel dissatisfied about the process. And I think ultimately what we should encourage now is for a complete announcement of the results. We do a post-mortem. People who feel dissatisfied can approach the court and seek redress. I've said it again today. We see situations where the court have instructed that the elections be cancelled and redone and reorganized in several instances. That has happened. And it's possible that it could happen this time too if evidences show in a lot of places the elections were marked. It could even be on the altar of the fact that INEC failed to upload most of the results.
On the RF
it's possible that the court could see that way and say, hey, because you did not follow the procedure as laid down by yourself and the Electoral Act, you need to redo the election in some places. It's possible. But that is the civil thing to do. That is the peaceful thing to do and the reasonable thing to do at this time.
Right.
But people calling for INEC to cancel results, they know that is pure hypocrisy and it's not possible.
Thank you very much, Fuad. Please be aware that we cannot take calls right now. This is Trends in the Papers. You will be allowed to speak. That's at 8:40 when we get to Mainland Focus. That is when we open the phone lines for you to call in and give your submissions. If you're calling now, we haven't really gotten through the papers, so there's only so much you can say. So wait for us to get through the papers so you have all the information and you can put together your thoughts. At 8:40, we'll open the phone lines for Mainland Focus and then you can speak to us. All right, let's refrain from calling for now. All right, let's move on. The story, of course, you can get more information on the front page of The Guardian, and then the story continues on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Now, let's move on. We're seeing here PDP alerts INEC to alleged extensive manipulation of result. That is the headline. Now, let's go to page 3 for more information on that particular headline. PDP alerts INEC over alleged extensive manipulation of results. Now, the Presidential Campaign Council of the People's Democratic Party has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to apply necessary precaution before announcing procured presidential election result. A spokesman for the PCC, Dele Momodu, gave the warning in a press conference at the headquarters of PDP campaign in Abuja yesterday. Now, according to him, the PDD-PCC has it on credible grounds that the All Progressives Congress is currently mounting pressure in attempt to have their way to secure 25% performance in both Imo and Ebonyi State. Speaking of allegations, this is another one. The PDP-PCC in person, the spokesman for PCC, Dele Momodu, has said that APC is currently mounting pressure to secure 25% performance in both Imo and Ebonyi State, and he used the word procured result. In fact, it was being, it was quoted here in the papers. Should we just consider this allegations as expected, or there's something that we can take out of this allegation?
Allegations that don't have any proof, I think we should be careful to take it at this time. The thing again is this. Chief Dele Momodu was an active player during the Doom 12 crisis. And we know the roles he played, standing by Chief Mko Abiola, also being one of the activists that were stood seriously for the protection of that election and all of that. And they know too well that we are in a situation where I think everybody should just be very careful what they do today. Because, of course, history is there to judge us all. Whatever we do today on the altar of politics, on the altar of political affiliations and all of that, and interest, I think eventually, whatever we do today, history will be there to judge everyone. He has made that allegation, and like I've said again, I will repeat myself so that I don't sound like a broken record. If he has facts that the APC, as he has said, is trying to procure results in those two states, I think he should document those evidence. He should keep them safe, and then use them in the law court. That's one thing about the court process. They allow you to bring up your evidence. And so instead of him coming to the press now to make noise, and then, what are we supposed to do now? He has said this now, we don't even have the facts, we didn't buttress it with any fact or any evidence now. I expect that if he has that kind of exclusive information, he should keep it to himself as a documentary evidence to be used in court and seek redress. And who says the court will not listen to him? So, but again, coming to the face of the paper with these allegations and all of that, again, for me, I'm not surprised, because, like I said, I've covered several elections. We know the behavior that comes with elections in Nigeria and all of that. But I thought that, look, this was going to be different, and Nigerians, for the first time, will learn to be patriotic. But again, it's what it is to continue to deal with it. And if you have facts, I think we should just keep them and take them to court.
Right. Well, page 3 of the Guardian newspaper is where you get details of this particular story. Let's move forward now. We have more headlines. Labour Party demands removal of Imo Rec over alleged ineptitude. And let's go to page 7 of Guardian to check this story. Now, the Labour Party in Imo State has called for immediate removal of the state's resident electoral commissioner, Rec, Professor Sylvia Agu, all electoral officers and supervisory presiding officers over alleged ineptitude in Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections. Let me tell you what was being said. Now, the party chairman, Ambrose Onyekwere, stated in a press briefing and gave reasons for this demand. He says, and I quote, "We wish to put on record on the widespread and mind-boggling ineptitude of INEC in the conduct of last Saturday's election in Imo. Our areas of complaint include, but not limited to, the following: the late arrival of voting materials at the polling unit, the non-conduct of election at the many polling unit, absence of INEC staff at polling stations in many places, and deliberate subversion of the electoral process by INEC staff. We interpret the actions of INEC as a deliberate and systematic disenfranchisement of citizens of the state, and we call for the immediate removal of the REC, all electoral officers and supervisory presiding officers in the state. We reject in advance any and all results for the House of Assembly elections scheduled for March 11 if conducted by the current REC and her team." So, Fuad, Imo State, they're saying that so far so good, based on what we have seen with the February 25 elections. This is ineptitude. INEC staff have been compromised, and if for the gubernatorial and state assembly elections you still decide to employ the services of the REC and the electoral officers, we will reject these results. What do you think, Fuad? Are they overreacting?
Well, I think INEC has to listen to them. Yes, because again, when people question integrity of
Abia State, I beg your pardon, not Imo.
Abia State,
yes,
right?
Abia, yes.
Okay, if people, of course, the party comes forward to question the integrity of an electoral officer, I think INEC has to listen. Very, very important, because that's a way of also assuring them that the process will be transparent and there will be some levels of integrity in the conduct of the election. So I think INEC has to listen to the Labour Party in Abia State. And not just in Abia State, too, in every part of the country that is raised concerns about the attitude and performance of resident electoral commissioners. And why not? If those complaints are found to be valid, I think the right thing for INEC to do is to change the REC. They can move them around, they can bring other REC to conduct the elections, to put some level of credibility to the conduct of the poll.
So Fuad, here is it. So Imo State, they are calling for the removal of their REC, but Abia State electoral commissioner is currently under arrest for something of the same, magnitude, something of ineptitude like that. So Imo State is currently asking that their REC be removed, but Abia State's REC is currently under arrest by the DSS.
Okay, that's a brilliant one. Again, we are hoping that all electoral offenders are being arrested now, or information have been taken about activities of electoral officers. And when we say electoral officers, it's not even limited to the REC alone. Even returning officers, ad hoc staff, full staff of INEC, people that handle logistics, even the core members, because there are reports that even some core members even compromise the process. And I'm hoping that before those core members took the job, they were well informed of the legal implications of what they were going ahead to do if they ever decided to compromise the process. And that's why it's important that we need to take note of these things now. I like the fact that the police and the DSS are already also getting involved, so that anybody found culpable as an electoral officer, no matter who the person is, he is taken to court and properly prosecuted. So that it serves as a form of deterrent for others. We still have an election on March 11 coming up. So whatever we do now to fraudulent electoral officers will serve as example and deterrent to others who want to engage in those kind of things. But I'm saying that INEC has to listen to the Labour Party or any other party that has complaints about the rep or electoral officers. And if they find that indeed those complaints are valid, yes, the right thing to do is to change them or remove them and then replace them with people that people would trust to handle the process. And it's the time that INEC must also listen to political parties. I agree. You don't just wish their complaints away. This is the time to listen to them, take note of their complaints, and begin to work on it so that on March 11 we have a better election, and that we could get something that at least would make us happy as Nigerians. I must say that what we did on February 25 falls short of standard. That is an established fact, and I'm hoping that we're going to get it better, get it done better in March 11. So I must listen to parties. I agree.
All right, then, page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. That's for those of you who would like more information. Let's move forward now. Another headline here. PDP chief faults non-usage of beavers in presidential poll. Now, former Deputy National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, that's Chief Olabode George, has faulted the non-usage of bimodal voters accreditation system to transmit results, as earlier assured by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Now, speaking in Lagos yesterday, he says that the country is being taken to a period of misery when election results were manipulated between polling units and collation centers. And he says that history will judge the INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, who swore to ensure credible electoral process. And here's what he said. George charged INEC boss to raise his voice for Nigerians to hear, or relinquish his position in the event of being pressured to alter results of the election. So Olabode George is saying that you promised to use the beavers to electronically transmit results. If you're unable to do so, is either you speak up, that's give it an explanation as to why, which I believe the press release from INEC already explains why. And he's saying that if what is really happening is that some people are pressuring you to alter the results, then the best thing for you to do is relinquish your position as the chairman of INEC. Fuad, how do we interpret this statement by Chief Olabode George?
Honestly said, I don't envy the INEC chairman at all.
Not at all.
Honestly. You saw his facial expression.
He was tired.
Yes, the body language and all that. So I really don't envy him at all at this time. I understand that you are caught between glitches in what you think would have been a smooth process, and then the pressure from political parties, from stakeholders. Imagine the INEC chairman reading Chief Olusegun Obasanjo's letter and watching his broadcast. Just imagine what will be running through his mind. And then you are also caught in the web of history. Like, what will people say about me at the end of the day? What legacy am I going to be leaving behind as an INEC chairman? So I understand the pressure he is under now. Now, for Chief Olabode George, we talk about transmission of results, and then the fact that, look, we are caught in between manipulation of results and all of that. Again, I agree that, look, INEC needs to explain to Nigerians why that part of the electoral process, the election process of immediate transmission of results from the polling unit to beavers has not been done or was not completely done. Because you know that they have come out with a press release explaining that, look, it was not anything deliberate, it was not a sabotage. I think somebody was able to explain that it was just a glitch and that it was unfortunate that happened. I think when I was listening to the INEC chairman again, when Jimmy Milai raised the issue several times, he talked about the process of collation. That collation is at 4 levels stage. I'm not making excuses for the incompetence that we saw with the non-transmission of results immediately. So I want people to listen to me dispassionately. They should just listen with less of emotion and understand what I'm saying. The chairman has said that, look, there are 4 levels of collating results. We start at the unit, the polling unit, where party agents and check the results, check the figures, and ensure that it is complete and properly accounted for, and they all sign. It is moved from the polling unit to the ward level,
yeah,
where party agents also sit on the results, check it, verify it, and then also sign on it. Then it is moved to the state level, which is the third level, where the results are checked again. Sorry, they look at the Lagos example, say.
Yeah,
when there was issue with Mushin, Mushin, I think Mushin was a very good example.
Yeah.
When the results of the Labour Party was brought into the state level, instead of 50-something thousand, they recorded 40-something thousand. The Labour Party agent, which is incidentally she's also the chairman of the party in Lagos, raised questions that look, the information she has from our agents at the police unit and what does not tally with what you have brought to the state level. And it was looked at immediately, it was checked immediately,
and the results were corrected.
And about 11,000 votes were added to the Labour Party immediately in Mushin, and people moved on with it. And the fourth level is that whatever is collated at the state level, checked at the state level, is now brought to the national level for announcement. And if there are questions with figures, those figures can still be corrected at the national level. That's why they have a committee looking at helping with calculations and the conciliation of figures. Those four levels is what the INEC chairman is saying that look, the issue of uploading, he said he's going to attend to it, he's going to address it. I'm not the INEC chairman. He should answer Nigerians why INEC failed in that regard. But I think that the four levels of collation of results should give us some confidence about the process. And if indeed there are questions to still answer, we should allow the constitutional means of seeking redress to endure. My position again is this morning.
All right, thank you very much, Fuad. Page 5 of the Guardian newspaper is where you will get that. Let's look at the story here. You wonder why we're spending so much time. That's because the stories are exactly the same across all the other papers. So we might as well just focus on, the stories here. But not to worry, I'll still look through all the other papers. Now, we have more information here. Labour Party Lagos victory. Don't attack Igbos. Others, Sanwo-Olu begs Lagosians. Fuad, I mean, there's been a lot of reactions. Mostly surprise, if I might add, regarding Labour Party winning Lagos, and a lot of people have said that this is something that even other prominent parties have not been able to do in years, and a party whose name we barely knew some 5 months ago was able to record victory with over 10,000 victory margin. But then again, I think that a lot of people are concerned that this surprise might cause people to react in a way that might not be very pleasurable, especially to the safety in Lagos State. And then we have the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, admonishing people and telling them, please, let's not attack certain ethnic groups, let's not cause a disruption in the state, let's accept the result as it is. I mean, this is something that is necessary, right?
Yes, I think that anybody that tries to attack any ethnic group should be arrested. This is the time that the police, I'm not even going to talk about what the governor is Asiwaju is saying. The police must start to do their job. Anyone that tries to attack any ethnic group because the elections do not favor their party should be arrested and prosecuted. Because it is just so irritating to see the way people are taking these elections and attaching tribal sentiments and ethnic sentiments to it. It's a democracy, for God's sake. And I've said it before. The Constitution of Nigeria allows Nigerians, irrespective of ethnicity, to live in any part of the country, work there, own businesses there, thrive there, and participate in the electoral process of that area. That is what the Constitution says. So for people who think the Igbos likely voted for the Labour Party, so be it. It's a democracy. And that's their right to do so. It is their right. It is within their right as enshrined in the Constitution to affiliate with any political party of their choice. Remember that, look, democracy and politics is about interest. If they feel that is the party that can protect their interest, and that's the reason why it's a democracy, for God's sake.
Well,
this idea of trying to profile people, or trying to gaslight people on the basis of ethnicity and political affiliation must stop. And I agree that the government has to begin to speak up. He should not keep quiet. If he has to do daily briefings that look all ethnic groups in Lagos State, and that's the beauty of Lagos State. The cosmopolitan nature of Lagos State, the fact that everybody is welcome in Lagos, the fact that Lagos is big enough in terms of its economy for any tribe, anybody to thrive, is the beauty of Lagos. And what happened on February 25 also shows the beauty of democracy. That look, for the first time, a party we win the presidential election in Lagos. The party that was formed about 4, 5, 6 months ago, not formed, but that gathered momentum about 5, 6 months ago. That is the beauty of democracy. And we have to even commend the Labour Party for that showing. And so anybody, and I say it again, the police must do their job. Anyone that tries to attack any ethnic group on the altar of what happened on February 25 to be arrested and prosecuted.
Right. Well, Labour Party Lagos victory. Don't attack Igbo's others. Tinubu Sanwo-Olu begs Lagosians. Sean Violence.
Igbos have voted for Labour Party.
Well, I think
Yorubas voted for Labour Party. Other tribes voted for Labour Party based on what they think is the right thing to do, which is the beauty of democracy.
All right. I think that they're just, should I say, acting just in case that is the idea that a lot of people choose to work with, that, oh, it was the Igbos who did this. So I think they're just, preparing ahead of time.
There were Igbos that even voted for the APC that I know. There were Igbos that voted for the APC. So how do people label people and try to attack any ethnic group? It doesn't just make any sense.
Right. I think that's why the governor is getting on top of the situation as early as possible to, eradicate whatever thoughts of that sort might be in the minds of Lagosians. Well, Sean Violence remain peaceful. Jandor tells residents election is not war. Calm down. Fayemi advises Nigerians. A reaction trail Labour Party upset in Tinubu's stronghold. That's the rider to the story, and I think Fuad has already done justice to that. Violence is not acceptable at all. It's a democracy, and I don't think that. I really hope that someday in the future we're able to get to, a point in our democratic life where people understand that tribal sentiments, religious sentiments would have to be removed from our electoral processes if we really, really want to enjoy the dividends of democracy. I think that's about it for the Guardian newspaper. Let's look through the other papers, of which I'm pretty sure that we've addressed most of the stories here. But then let's just look through the papers. The Nation is the paper I'm with at this very moment. Observers Peace Panel. APC do not abort election process. I think they're reacting to calls by the PDP party agent and also the Labour Party to suspend the announcement of the results so far because of claims of, Beavers bypass, electoral violence that are prevented voting to happen in some places, and, just contending the results that are being announced so far. But then the peace panels and the EU observers and the APC are also asking that the announcement process should not be aborted. The reeling out of results should of course continue. The riders call for caution as PDP seeks suspension of results announcement. APC candidate wins in 6 states. Atiku take 5, Obi takes 3. That's the headline. We have here Obasanjo under fire for seeking cancellation of poll, which of course have been addressed by our analyst Fuad Said. We have another one here. Equities market value hits 3 trillion mark, and in sports, Messi is FIFA's world best. Okay, that's the headline on the front page of the Nation newspaper. I would look at Vanguard now. Let's see Vanguard. Obi wins in Lagos as Tinubu Sanwo-Olu sues for calm. Anxiety in Lagos Island, Oshodi, Ikotun, others. Results shown were not partisan, says Lagos Rec. We have here February 25 elections fell short of expectations. United States Institute, ECOWAS decries irregularity. Yes, we spoke about that in the Guardian newspaper, where the foreign observers did say that the arrival time of INEC officials, the irregularities with the bimodal voters accreditation system might have been sign of a lack of transparency. But then again, they also recorded that election was, reasonably peaceful in most parts of the country. So other headlines here: don't tamper with results. Clark, Adebanjo, others warn INEC. I think this is still with regards to the Beavers and the inability of INEC to upload the results, to the viewing portal, which INEC has again explained with a press release that we've only used this for off-season state elections. These glitches are not unexpected because this is the first time we're really using this system, the software, on a national level, and their engineers are doing all they can to bring the system back up. So let's see what happens today. I think that the National Collation Center will reconvene at 11 a.m. today, so let's see if anything to that effect will be put forward. So other headlines here on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper: presidential National Assembly elections fraught with irregularities. Obasanjo EU National Peace Committee speaks. Also here, Atiku Tinubu Obi in tight race as runoff looms. Fine, let's talk about this. Runoff. You know that INEC already started planning for a runoff, even long before February 25. Do you think that we might, based on what you've seen so far, I know that it's just been, I think, 11 states that have been announced so far. Based on what we've seen so far, do you think a runoff might happen, or we should still wait and see at the end of the day, what INEC decides to give us, the results that are being announced by INEC? What do you think, Fuad?
I think we should just wait.
I was trying to set you up. You're not your escape.
I think we should just wait. And if the results are announced and there's a need for a runoff, INEC has told us that they are prepared for a runoff. I think they've made provisions already.
Yes.
Ballot papers, logistics, and they are ready to, take care of any runoff should that happen at any of the elections. So I think we should just wait. To see what happens after a complete announcement of all of the results, and then we can see whether there's going to be a runoff or it's going to just be a straight victory for any of the presidential candidates. So I think it's too early from what we're seeing for anybody to begin to think or predict a runoff. But I know that INEC is prepared for a runoff. They had told us that months ago that part of the arrangements they made and that is ready is that, look, if there's a runoff, they are ready to also conduct a runoff election. I think we need to clear to explain the constitutional requirement for a runoff. Basically, a president in Nigeria is supposed to score 25% of votes in 24 states and the FCT. And then if we don't have any of the presidential candidates meeting up with that constitutional requirement, the runoff is between one, the person with the highest number of votes, highest number of valid votes, and the second person with the highest spread, not the highest number of votes.
So the first person with the highest
number of votes,
and the second person with the highest spread
across states. So even if you come second in terms of the highest number of votes, but you don't have the highest spread, you will not be on the runoff because it's just between two persons.
Right.
So it is with the person with the highest number of votes, and then the person that comes second with the highest number of spread, not necessarily the highest number of votes.
Right. Thank you very much for that clarification, Fuad. So also on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have here Obi sues for peace, condemns violence in Lagos State. United States extends tourist visa validity to 5 years for Nigerians. I mean, finally, after all the visa ban, after all the restrictions, even in Ethiopia was telling us, you can't get your visa at point of arrival and what have you. Well, considering that we even have business with them, Ethiopia Airlines and what have you, and they told us that you can't get your visa at the point of arrival. But then it's a good thing. I mean, the United States has decided to extend tourist visa validity. for 5 years for Nigerians. So you can stay up to 5 years if you go there for tourism. That's
good. They give you the visa.
They give you the visa. It's not like you can't pass the. But you can't cross border or you pass normal place. So
I'm sure Nigerians will be happy about it. Nigerians will 5 years.
It's good. I mean, 5 years is reasonable. It's reasonable compared to the sanctions and bans that even the president was begging the UAE to please reconsider.
Yeah, the UAE. Yeah.
Anyways, also here, Hurricane Obi sweeps southeast and south. I think it's talking about the victory that the Labour Party has recorded in the southeast. Yes, applaudable, I must say. Ondo appeal court George Slums dies. May so rest in peace. Nigeria at high risk of Marburg virus disease, NCDC. I don't think that we have the strength for manpower to deal with a disease outbreak right now. With all our medical personnel leaving the country, I really hope that they do something about this as soon as possible. So, New Telegraph we have here: upset as big wigs lose strongholds. For just like you said, the postmortem of this election would be something to remember. Yeah. We're seeing, governors losing, even in Senate. I mean, even the Labour Party is the perfect example with Bankole Wellington and Obanikoro in Etiosa Thaddeus Atta, whose name I just learnt yesterday, of the Labour Party.
We were looking for the right name.
Thaddeus Atta, which I just learnt yesterday, won. So it's a lot of, you know, unexpected things. So it's unexpected, to be honest. So they're saying upset is big wigs lose stronghold. I think that this is a paradigm shift, if I'm allowed to use that term.
I'm sure the attack guy will still be one with the guy.
That can be possible. Anyways, I think that that's about it for the New Telegraph as well. Every other story has been addressed. So we're going to go on a quick break. When we come back at 8:40 a.m., it will be time for Mainland Focus. Now, on Mainland Focus, we'll open the phone lines and get your perspective on the stories that we have read to you on the front pages of the papers. We would, of course, have two focal points, which, of course, the focal point would be with regards to what's been going on with the elections. Sage Babalola is my name. Fuad Taib, thank you very much for standing by. At 8:40, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the Sound of Lagos, Mainland 98.3 FM.